Hi there, it's Lone Wolf from Wolf Territories Grid, and yeah, and so Lone Wolf from Wolf Territories Grid. I've been asked um, by a new contact, a friend of mine, to talk about setting up your own grid and what the options are, etc., etc., etc. So obviously, if you just want one region, come and see me. You can rent a region for £24.99 a month. That's for a 4x4 region with that's 1024 by 1024, equivalent of 16 Second Life Sims, and that's 80,000 prims. Okay, and you can have it anywhere down there, anywhere, basically in our map. So basic, and the thing is, if you have one there, you can actually then sail wherever you like, and go wherever you like, and fly wherever you like. Because unlike other grids, everything's kind of joined together. But enough of advertising for me. So get in touch if you want to do that. Look over here, Lone. Oh dear. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about some different options. If you've never done anything like running your own grid, then there's basically two types of servers you can run it on. You can run it on Linux, or you can run it on Windows. Okay, now there are some quite big grids running on Windows, but I don't recommend it because of Windows itself in terms of stability. And you need a lot more hardware to run Windows because it needs to have a desktop and all those other nice things that you don't really need when you're running a server. So Linux servers, and I'll show you one in a minute, they don't have any of that. So moving swiftly on. So the easiest way to start, pop over to, let's see, where are we? Outworlds. So outworlds.com / outworlds underscore installer / grid, and they actually do a pre-built grid thing that you can download and just run on a Windows machine. And the beauty of that is that you get to just set it up and go. Now, the only thing I would say is don't forget you're going to need what's called a static IP address so that you can actually access the grid from outside. And the second thing I'm going to say to you is you're going to also need probably going to need a domain name pointing to the server. Now, it does start sounding quite technical because it is technical. Okay, it is technical. So, and there's nothing one can do about it being a technical issue. I'm just trying to get rid of this menu. Hang on, let's go there. No, stop. I'll tell you what, I'll refresh the page. Maybe we can see what the text is there. So they need. There we go. So you could rent a Windows VPS and install this on it if you wanted to and have a little grid running like that. But the downside is that if you want to get any bigger, you need to start thinking in a different way, because obviously Wolf Territories Grid is huge, and I'll show you some of the tech we've got for that. We'll just have a look over here. That's our backup server. So these are all the servers running Wolf Territories Grid. So we've got 5 bare metal servers running something called Proxmox, which runs it, and these run loads of virtual machines that are all Linux based. Now, a Linux based virtual machine unfortunately looks something like this. That's what it looks like. Basically, this is a Linux machine. Let's see. I'm just going to go into one of them, and I'm using special code to get in. Not that one. But this is a Linux machine. This is what you're going to be faced with. So, and then if I can remember the password, which is this. Come on then. There you go. So this is one of our Linux servers, and you can see it's just text. There is no Windows. There's nothing easy to make your life easy and pretty. It's designed to be as efficient as possible, and that means we lose the desktop thing. This computer is actually running Linux. You'll have to set up OpenSim under Linux, which is a whole different ballgame. And if you've never run Linux before, I reckon what you could do is fire up, either rent a virtual Linux server, or fire up, if you've got an old PC or something, install Zorin OS on it, which is basically Ubuntu Linux with Zorin on the Debian Linux with Zorin on the top, and you can then go ahead and have a little bit of a play around. But there's lots of different commands you have to learn, and it's a bit more of a job. So talking about the way that if you're just setting up a one region grid and you don't know anything about computers, go to Outworlds, download that and run it and have a little go. Okay, but you don't know how complicated this thing is. I sometimes say to people it's like buying a model plane kit where half the parts are missing, and the parts they've given you to replace them don't really fit quite right. And then when you try and fly it with another plane, it doesn't really work properly, and there's just so many things that are very difficult to run. So if you're going to go down the route of just having a little tiny grid with one region, then why not use this, because it's really easy. If you want to go a little bit further, then you're going to need to set up things that are a bit more complicated, far more complicated than I could explain in a video. But you're going to need to set up a Linux server, probably Debian or Ubuntu. But there's other brands of Linux, and they're just different flavors of Linux. And then you need to follow some instructions to install and download the OpenSim software. You need to then set up DNS, which is so you need to set something to point to your server. Obviously, if your server's on your home network, it gets a bit more complicated, because people won't be able to access your server directly from the outside unless you do something called network address translation, or NATing, which is where you forward the ports on your router. That's the thing that they gave you to plug it into the internet, to the server inside. So the best thing I reckon to do is to actually rent a virtual host, and I recommend this company, Dream Hosting AT. Actually, Daya, who runs it, is amazing, and she's got her own little grid, and she actually supplies the servers to Wolf Territories grid, and they tend to work out pretty inexpensive. And you could start off with just a simple VPS or VDS, which is virtual private server or virtual dedicated server, and sorry about that little email. And start off with a simple server. You then log into it, and then you can download and install OpenSim on there. There are some good instructions on how to do it on the net. I think there are. Installing OpenSim on Linux. I'm sure there's some instructions out there. Here we go. Building OpenSim in Linux. Here we go. There's lots of there you go. There's lots of different. Here we go. So this is a really good one. How to install OpenSim on Ubuntu, and it takes you through all these things. And this is what I mean about all of the things you have to do to get it actually working. Okay, and this all looks very simple, but trust me, it isn't. Okay, and that's actually for OpenSim 7.4, and we're now on 9.2.2. In terms of brands of OpenSim, there's some what we call forks of OpenSim. So the original OpenSim.exe, or the OpenSim software, is, some people have taken the original because it's open source and kind of are fixing it. I'm part of a group who are very interesting, and we've got our own OpenSim called OpenSim NGC. This is the one here. This is their Discord here, and you can see there's some discussion going on right now. OpenSim NGC, we're the biggest user of it. We're the biggest user of it. OpenSim NGC is basically OpenSim, but it's got some features and fixes and a few extra things in it. And I've been really excited about what they're doing with OpenSim NCG and some of the things that they're fixing and dealing with. So basically, there's your options. Okay, so if you are going to seriously build a big grid, then you need to think about multiple servers and having probably something like a Proxmox cluster. You need to be able to grow it. So you'll need to probably, like somebody said to me the other day, said, oh, you can run it all on one robust server. Robust server, if you've got a big grid, like with more than 5 regions or something like that, robust is a piece of software that kind of ties it all together and makes it all work. So that if you have more than one region, if you only have one region, you probably don't even need a robust server. If you've got more than one region, you've got lots of regions, you're going to need a robust server. When I got to about 300 or 400 regions, one robust server wasn't cutting it. That's why I've got a system for running 10. So if you're interested in that, just get in touch and we can have a chat about it. So I suppose that's it really. So, if you want to do a really simple one region test, Dream Grid, have a bash at that, just install it and get going with it. If you want to do something a bit more serious with some proper tech infrastructure in place, certainly have a chat with me, and I can point you in Daya's direction in terms of supplying servers and things like that. And there you go. And we could probably get you at least, if you want us to set it all up for you, we might do that. I don't really do that because I spend so much time running my own grid. But if you're not a Linux user, you've never used Linux before, you do need to get your head around it. So anyway, that's it, I suppose. I hope that video is interesting. I don't know where I'm looking now. Do come over to Wolf Territories Grid. You can just get there by going to OpenSim World, and I think you can go to OpenSim World, opensimworld.com, and search for Wolf Territories Grid in there, and it will bring up, there you go, it will bring up Wolf Mountain. That's the one you want to go for, and that will give you our hop address, which is grid.wolfterritories.org 8002. If you just put that in there, it'll take you to our welcome area, and you can then go ahead and check us out and come and have a chat. I'm always normally hanging around making a nuisance of myself. So thanks very much for watching this video. www.wolfterritories.org